Firstly, I must thank you all, particularly to Shri Mayank Singh, who's not only a good friend, but also always encourages me and gives me opportunity also to speak to youngsters. That is what I like. Speaking to young people, I have always felt younger, and that's why one of the reasons why I accept when I'm asked to, like he invited me this time, asked to speak to young people. Speaking to young people, you feel younger yourself. A lot has been said by Mayank regarding Kargil War. Others have also spoken to you about it. All I will say is it was not only surprise, from surprise to victory, but also, I would say, mission impossible made possible. And the credit for that doesn't only go to me at all. I would say it goes firstly to the Indian Armed Forces, particularly Indian Army, and also to rest of the nations, because the kind of national support that we got, that is what encouraged the armed forces to do their part. And in my life, I have never seen that kind of national support that we had during that war. Mayank has already given to you the introduction of the war, but let me show you a few slides. It will give you an indication how the war started. In May 1998, first India and then Pakistan, we had carried out nuclear weapons test. और दोनों देशों ने ये सोच विचार किया कि अब हम दोनों ही न्यूक्लियर शक्तियां बन गई हैं और न्यूक्लियर शक्तियां आपस में नहीं लड़ती हैं. And that is what the prime ministers, the political leadership of both countries, they felt. और कुछ हद तक ये माना भी जाता था कि दो न्यूक्लियर शक्तियां आपस में नहीं लड़ती हैं. लेकिन हालात कुछ बदले. और पहले तो दोनों प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ने समझौता किया आपस में. हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर श्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी गए लाहौर और बड़े जोश के साथ में, जोश गर्मी के साथ में दोनों ने बैठकर साइन किया लाहौर डिक्लेरेशन, जिसमें ये कहा गया कि हम आगे से लड़ाई नहीं करेंगे इंडिया और पाकिस्तान, लेकिन जो भी हमारे अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको समझौते के साथ में उनको रिजॉल्व करेंगे. तो ये चीज़ पूरी दुनिया ने देखी और उसको साइन करने की लाहौर डिक्लेरेशन के बाद में वो वापस आ गए. लेकिन किसी को मालूम नहीं था उस वक़्त, पाकिस्तान प्राइम मिनिस्टर को भी इतना मालूम नहीं था कि उनकी अपनी फ़ौज जो है उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है. और उस वक़्त जब ये लाहौर का समझौता तैयार है, दैट इज़ द थॉट. उन्होंने कहा कि हम जो कुछ कर सकते हैं LOC के आसपास, तो उसके ऊपर कोई ज़्यादा रिएक्शन नहीं हो सकता इंडियन आर्मी का. पर वो सोच जो थी, दैट वाज नॉट ए स्ट्रेटेजिक थिंकिंग, इट वाज अ रॉन्ग थिंकिंग, आई कैन से दैट टुडे. नाउ दिस इज व्हाट दे डिड क्वाइटली in that area. I'm not going into minor details, but this is what the chief Pervez Musharraf thought, and the Pakistan army in the clothes of terrorists initiated that in this area जहाँ पर आप arrow देख रहे हैं. Well, some people call him well, whatever you want to call him, he's also a terrorist, or he was. Unfortunately, he's no more now. Now I'll show you the area with a photograph. This is photograph taken, all these photographs that I'm going to show you now, these were all taken during the war. This is photograph taken from an area in Dras area, Dras ka hai. And these are the heights which they had come and occupied, and they were sitting on top by the, I would say, second and third week of May. Now, this is a different picture, but of the same area. Now, this picture is, that area, you have a lot of snow, but when the snow melts, then suddenly there is no snow at all. Now, there is a very, again, interesting story that when the war started, these people sitting on top of the mountains, they could melt the snow and drink water and cook whatever they had to. But when the snow melted, they had no idea. They had to go down to the nalas, and by that time the war had started. So they would go down into the nalas to fetch water, and we knew that they will come down from there. So a lot of casualties that they suffered were only when they coming out to fetch water for their posts on top. So if you don't think properly for the war, you will have this kind of a problem. Well, these are the photographs of, again, Dras and Batalik area. This is a famous Tiger Hill. We'll talk about this, which was captured by us on 4th of July. And by that time, of course, Pakistan was in panic and they were running around. And on the 4th of July, in fact, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif had run to USA and asked for a special meeting with the President of USA that day. This is a photograph taken on 14th of May of Batalik sector. Now you see how all the mountains in that area with the height which is 5,000 meters and above, meters mind you. So at that height these are all snow covered. And just to show you what the line of control, I have drawn it with a line. This is the line of control rough alignment. Now when you are flying up, those days we did not have any GPS, proper GPS also. You didn't know exactly where you were flying. Sometimes our pilots would make a mistake, go a little further, then suddenly realize and come back. And it happened with patrols on the ground also so many times. But that was the kind of a condition, and that the war started. This is a Siachen glacier beach mein. In fact, there is a post called, uske saath mein hai, it's called Kumar. So in that area also, the war had extended to that area, about 160 kilometers total. Now, Siachen में जब हम ऑपरेट करते हैं तो अकेला तो कोई कर ही नहीं सकता. आप कहीं अकेले को किसी को नहीं जाने देते. It is always a team, because आप एक जगह पर पहले पेट्रोल करके आए, 3-4 दिन के बाद में जाएंगे, suddenly you might find a crevice, not realizing कि ये पीछे क्या हो गया है. Now that kind of a condition is there. And you always in winter go do your patrolling by roping with a rope tied to each other. अगर कोई गिर भी जाता है crevice में तो उसको हम निकाल सकते हैं. So it's always a teamwork, which Mayank Singh was also emphasizing to you. And that is how you work if something. But these are actual photographs taken in Siachen Glacier in the areas where we fought the war. This is one of the older helipads. You can see improvised helipad. ये जो सफ़ेद चादर है वो white parachutes हैं. तो उसको हमने उससे कवर कर दिया है वहाँ के जो mountain top को थोड़ा level करके. And that is where the helicopter can land. Now helicopters on that height can carry 1/4 of their normal load because of the high altitude. वो high altitude इतनी है कि वो पूरा load भी नहीं जाते. Generally, I would say 25% of load can be carried by helicopters in those areas. Okay, now you will ask me, why were we surprised? Again, I go back to the map, and here you will find the blue line is the line of control. The posts जो red में है, these are all Pakistani posts, और जो blue में है, those are our posts. Kobal Gully, for example, blue में जो है वो हमारी तरफ है. Kobal Gully is an extension of Zojila Pass really, and वहाँ से हमारा एरिया शुरू होता था. मारपोला और ऑलगईथांग ये सारे उनके थे, और कारगिल आप देख सकते हैं, जोजिला पास भी आप देख सकते हैं. नौ उस वक़्त हमारी पोस्ट जो थी, इंडियन आर्मी कैन नॉट ऑक्यूपाई एवरी इंच ऑफ लैंड, यू हैव टू हैव गैप्स. और वो जो गैप्स होते हैं, वी थिंक कि कहाँ से दुश्मन आ सकता है, और दुश्मन जो है अगर ऐसी जगह पर आएगा तो वो 1, 2, 5, 7 में तो नहीं आएगा. They will come with a bigger formation. They will be, it has an objective, it has a task. So both sides, India and Pakistan, over so many years, they had gaps in their posts. And some of the gaps, you will notice 36 kilometer gap, 9.5 kilometer gap, 9 kilometer gap. So जब some people ask me कि वो अंदर कैसे घुसे, now ऐसे इलाके में अगर आपके इतने बड़े बड़े गैप होंगे तो कोई भी अगर वो हमारी तरफ आ सके, अगर हम चाहते तो हम भी जा सकते थे. लेकिन वो सही बात है, करना सही है या नहीं है, ये तो बाद में नतीजा निकलेगा. और तो दोनों की समझ यही थी कि ये जो बड़े गैप हैं, इनके अंदर से हम बड़ी फौज नहीं पार कर सकते. सो दैट इज़ द रीज़न वाई वी हैड गैप्स. नाउ we have, again, we still have gaps, but the gaps have reduced now. And I'll give the reason later on. Now I have explained here why these large gaps. In that tracks, in that area, there are no roads at all, and there are very few tracks, and large-scale movement of military forces cannot be sustained logistically, particularly in winter conditions. Military cannot hold every inch of the border, जैसे मैंने बताया, कहीं पर भी नहीं कर सकते हम ऐसा. And the enemy approaches are held as per our assessment and appreciation, and gaps have to be kept under surveillance. This area was considered low priority in threat analysis due to terrain and climatic conditions. Thus, a pattern of holding defenses which had been adopted by both sides. So that is the reason. A lot of people ask कि अंदर कैसे घुसा है. तो ये घुसना जो है इतना मुश्किल नहीं है. अगर हमको कोई बोले कि आप चले जाओ तो हम भी जा सकते हैं, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. So what was the aim? What was the objective that they had? Now, our assessment was that they did this. They wanted to alter the line of control, which is now here. You will find again light, right, the pinkish line, जो line में LOC लिखा हुआ है जहाँ पर. And they wanted to occupy this area of 700 square kilometers in Dras, Kargil and Turtuk sector. Now Turtuk was a post which we had captured in 1971. और ये उनके दिमाग में हमेशा खटकता था, क्योंकि परवेज़ मुशर्रफ खुद उसने बड़ी कोशिश की इन जगह के ऊपर कब्ज़ा करने के लिए पहले, जब वो ब्रिगेडियर था, और उससे हो नहीं पाया था, बल्कि ही लॉस्ट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल इन दैट अटेम्प्ट. सो उसके दिमाग में ये भी था कि ये हमने रिकैप्चर करना है इस एरिया को. कैप्चर तुर्तुक एंड कट ऑफ सदर्न एंड सेंट्रल ग्लेशियर एरिया. आपको मैंने ग्लेशियर एरिया का दिखाया है, तो उसको हम 3 हिस्सों में बांटते हैं, नॉर्दर्न, सेंट्रल एंड सदर्न. So he thought that by capturing Turtuk, he will be able to take control of better part of Siachen area. Cut off National Highway 1 Alpha road which goes from Srinagar to Dras to Kargil and then to Leh. And he thought that he will be able to cut off that road by sitting on the heights which dominate that road. And negotiate Kashmir from an advantageous position. This is what he told his Prime Minister, कि हम कुछ थोड़ी बहुत कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं, उसमें हमको फ़ायदा होगा कि आप जो है इंडिया के साथ में जब कश्मीर की बात करेंगे तो यू विल बी एबल टू वर्क विद एन एडवांटेज कि वो आपके हाथ में कुछ उनका हिस्सा है, तो यू विल बी बेटर ऑफ इन नेगोशिएशंस। एंड लास्टली 1999 में जो लड़ाई से पहले मिलिटेंसी जो थी उनके टेररिस्ट की, उसके ऊपर हम काफ़ी कंट्रोल कर चुके थे पूरे के पूरे कश्मीर में, और वो जो था वो खटक रहा था पाकिस्तान आर्मी को। सो दीज वर द रीजंस व्हाई ही अटेम्प्टेड द इंट्रूजन इन एंड देन आई हैव शोड यू दैट तुर्तुक का जो हिस्सा है, हाउ ही वांटेड टू कैप्चर दैट एरिया। नाउ in 1972, all this area, we had talks in Shimla agreement. शिमला एग्रीमेंट के बाद में दोनों फौजों को बताया गया कि आप नक्शे मार्क करिए लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के। सो व्हेन दोज लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल was marked on the map and it was signed by both parties. Now this is the signatures of the line of control on the maps. जब हम उनसे बात करते थे उन दिनों में, तो वो कहते थे हमको तो मालूम नहीं है कि लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल कहाँ है, शायद वेग है, पता नहीं हमको। दैट इज़ व्हाट देयर DGMO यूज्ड टू टेल अवर DGMO जब आपस में इनकी हफ्ते में एक दफ़ा बातचीत होती थी। और जब ये 2-3 बार वो बोलता रहा तो मैंने फिर अपने DGMO को बोला, मैंने कहा कि इसकी फ़ोटो उसको फैक्स करके भेजो, उसको बोलो बकवास मत करो, हमको कहाँ पर है तुमको भी मालूम है, हमको भी मालूम है। और सो वी सेंट दैट फोटोग्राफ जस्ट टू पुट देम to correct them. But the whole facade, the whole deception was telling their own people कि नहीं नहीं हमने तो कुछ भी नहीं किया है, ये तो टेररिस्ट क्रॉस कर रहे हैं, हमको इसके बारे में मालूम नहीं है। And that is one of the reasons why they lost their even in their own country they lost respect from their own people after the war. Now, what were the challenges that time? Some of them have been already explained by Mayank. High altitude. You know, now we were fighting a war at the height of, say, anything between 14,000 to 19,000 feet high, where 14,000 feet को जाने के लिए आपको 3 दिन की मिनिमम एक्लिमेटाइजेशन करनी होती है, इवन इन द फौज। हम फौज में भी किसी को ऐसे नहीं जाने देते, 3 दिन की एक्लिमेटाइजेशन करने के बाद में 9,000 फीट के बाद में जो होता है, तो हर एक स्टेप के ऊपर 9 से 12, 12 से 15, 15 से 20, तो ये एक्लिमेटाइजेशन करनी पड़ती है। और उस एरिया के अंदर जब आप जाते हैं तो आपके हथियार भी जो हैं वो उनको दोबारा कैलिब्रेट करना पड़ता है, बिकॉज द रेयर एटमॉस्फेयर इज देयर, वेदर इट इज़ एन आर्टिलरी गन और इवन ए राइफल, यू हैव टू zero it or you have to recalibrate it for those heights. इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर बिल्कुल था, उन्होंने किसी ने भी हमको ये बताया नहीं कि वो तैयार हैं या तैयारी कर रहे हैं, एंड दैट वाज अ टोटल फेलियर फ्रॉम द साइड ऑफ IB या रॉ उनकी तरफ से। सर्वेलेंस फेलियर्स, बिकॉज हमारे पास उन दिनों में कोई डिवाइसेस नहीं थी, वी डिड नॉट हैव ड्रोन्स, we did not have proper GPS, we did not have radars, we did not have night vision devices. So all that which is available today, they were not there. I'm talking of 1999. And we were short of weapons and equipment because उस वक्त हमारे पास foreign exchange नहीं था, तो गवर्नमेंट ने हमको पैसे नहीं दिए। I would say from 1995 के बाद में, और हम लोगों ने कुछ फौज रेज भी की, तो उसके लिए भी हमको सैंक्शन नहीं थी और हथियार नहीं थे। वी रेज राष्ट्रीय राइफल 30 battalions without getting any equipment for them. Mind you, the government sanctioned 30 battalions to be raised, but they did not sanction the weapons and equipment. No, that was the kind of a condition we were. And due to nuclear weapon test, क्योंकि हमने वो टेस्ट किए हुए थे 1908 में, तो बाहर वाले जो देश थे, particularly USA, UK, and so many other countries, Japan and all, they had put sanctions on us. You could not even buy weapons and equipment from the others because they refused. And 1 or 2 instances I can tell you that some of our weapons which were lying for repairs in UK, they did not even let them come back. And when we bought some ammunition from some of the friendly countries, they gave us old equipment. लड़ाई जब होती है तो कोई भी देश आपकी मदद के लिए नहीं आता, ये सोच के रखो. One of the biggest lessons on national security is that when you have crisis, nobody will come. They will all make money out of you. They will take advantage of you, and they will not give you the kind of help. So we cannot. India is a big country. India cannot depend, help from the other country. This is the biggest lesson of war. Okay, now I'll go with Operation Vijay, which was declared on 24th of May. इसी आने के बाद में फिर हम लोगों ने आपस में मीटिंग की, आर्मी नेवी एयर फोर्सेस ने इकट्ठे मिलकर, and we thought that we'll work together. And on 24th of May 99, I had to give a presentation to the Cabinet Committee on Security, which is the highest body in our country on security matters. Prime Minister is in charge, और उसके बीच में Home Minister, Defense Minister, Foreign Minister, or Finance Minister. These are the members. So on 24th of May, by that time I had been able to work for a few days and had been able to go to the ground also. So I gave a presentation to them, and at the end of that presentation, I remember telling the Prime Minister, सबके जो चेहरे थे थोड़ा उतरे हुए थे, but I could not afford to have my चेहरा उतरा हुआ. So I gave the presentation, and at the end I told the Prime Minister, I said, sir, we are going to work together, and I hope we will have your permission to use Air Force and Navy, everybody, which on that day they gave us permission. Earlier they had not given permission for the use of Air Force, but that day they gave. And then I told them, I said, sir, I'm naming this operation as Operation Vijay, because I'm confident that at the end, हमारी ही विजय होगी. So that is. So एक लेसन आप बच्चों के लिए ये है कि जब दूसरों के चेहरे उतरे हुए देखो, अपना चेहरा नहीं नीचे करो, आपका चेहरा ऊपर होना चाहिए. That's a big lesson for you people. Mission impossible has to be made possible. Now, उस वक़्त हमको उसी दिन की बात है, ये 24 मई की बात है, तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने यहाँ पर हुक्म दिया कि ठीक है, आप ये जो हुक्म इंट्रूजन हुआ है इसको आप खाली कराइए, और लेकिन आप जो है वो लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल नहीं क्रॉस करेंगे, इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर नहीं क्रॉस करेंगे, क्योंकि वी हैड बिकम ए रोग नेशन उन दोनों में. इंटरनेशनल ओपिनियन जो था जनरली हमारे अगेंस्ट था कि क्यों लड़ाई कर रहे हैं जब आपके पास न्यूक्लियर हथियार हैं. एंड सो दिस इज द डायरेक्टिव ही गेव अस, बट ही सेड लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल एंड बॉर्डर नॉट टू बी क्रॉस्ड बाय द आर्म्ड फोर्सेस. सो उस वक्त तो हालात ऐसी थी कि हमने कहा ठीक है, जो आप बोलते हैं हम करेंगे उसके साथ में. लेकिन ये जो मैंने 3 स्टार लगाए हैं उसकी कहानी है. वो कहानी ये है कि 2-3 दिन के बाद में प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने एक दफ़ा पब्लिक में बोला कि मैंने फ़ौज को हुक्म दिया है कि यहाँ से दुश्मन को हटा दो, लेकिन मैंने उनको ये भी बोला है कि तुम लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल या इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर क्रॉस नहीं करना. वो चेन्नई में मुझे याद है उन्होंने एक स्पीच में बोला था. जब वो वापस आए तो मैंने उनको मिला, मेरे साथ में नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइज़र भी थे ब्रजेश मिश्रा जी. तो हम लोग चल रहे थे, मैंने कहा सर आप ये बात दोबारा मत बोलो. तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर काम बोलते थे और मेरी तरफ देख के क्यों क्या बात है. मैंने कहा सर अगर हम कारगिल के एरिया में उनको वहाँ से नहीं निकाल सके तो एज ए मिलिट्री मैन मेरे पास और कोई चारा नहीं है एक्सेप्ट टू क्रॉस द लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल और क्रॉस द इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर समवेयर आर दी अदर. और जब वो अगर हालात हमारे पास बनी तो मैं आपके पास आऊँगा और बोलूँगा कि हमको परमिशन दे दीजिए, फिर आपका क्या जवाब होगा. सो ही अंडरस्टूड दैट और उसी दिन उन्होंने शाम को ब्रजेश मिश्रा जो NSA थे हमारे, उनको एक टीवी चैनल के ऊपर भेजा जिन्होंने इंटरव्यू लिया, और उस इंटरव्यू में ब्रजेश मिश्रा ने बोला, नॉट क्रॉसिंग द कंट्रोल और इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर होल्ड्स गुड टुडे, वी डोंट नो अबाउट टुमारो. Now that was a big message not only to Pakistan but it was also to the world at large. Okay, we are intending to cross the border if it is required. And we prepared ourselves, all the three armed forces. I will explain to you now that we prepared ourselves accordingly. So three, Army, Navy, Air Force, we sat together and we worked out on this strategy. First, of course, we had to take care of Kargil sector, that we try and get that area vacated with our force. Threaten and maintain pressure on Pakistan throughout land, air and sea border. Now we had to create some kind of strategic instability in Pakistan. You know, that is the work of the strategist. I'm not firing the gun. I'm not firing with young leaders like Vikram Batra and Manoj Pandey and others. I'm not in that category. I'm the chief. I have to work on the strategy. So we have to create some kind of strategic imbalance in Pakistan. And we knew that if they are not ready yet to wage a war against us. So we said, okay, we put our forces all along the border and on the sea. We moved our part of our Bay of Bengal, जो हमारी नेवी की वहाँ शिपिंग थी, उसको हम अरेबियन सी में लेके आए. एयरफोर्स ने पूरे के पूरे जो उनकी बेसिस थी बॉर्डर के साथ में पूरी उन्होंने एक्टिवेट कर दी. और हमने अपनी जो आर्मी थी वो हमारे पास ड्यूल टास्क फॉर्मेशन थी, कई और भी फॉर्मेशन जो थी, उनको सबको हमने बॉर्डर के ऊपर लगा दिया कि कभी भी हमला हो सकता है. और उसके लिए हमने तैयारी ये कर दी कि मैंने सारी अपने जो कमांडर्स थे उनसे बातचीत करके उनको तैयार किया कि मैं आपको 6 दिन का नोटिस दूंगा और अगर हमको परमिशन मिलती है तो 6 दिन के अंदर आई वांट टू सी यू इनसाइड पाकिस्तान. So that was the preparation done at the strategic level, at my level. I want you to understand, I did not fire a bullet. I did not face a bullet. I used to go to the border, the line of control के पास में. It was only to encourage people and ask them general question कि भाई अगर कोई चीज़ की कमी है तो क्या मैं कर सकता हूँ. But the war was fought by our soldiers and our young officers and our leaders at the level of the commanding officer, our brigade commander, our div commander, at that level. So that is how the war was fought, and that is why I say जो सबसे ज़्यादा श्रेय है ये उन लोगों को जाता है जिन्होंने वहाँ लड़ाई करी. So be prepared to launch forces, मैंने बता दिया आपको. Retain balance on border with China, Bangladesh. वहाँ पर we could not sort of ourselves vacate that. We had to remain balanced there. And जो ये लोग कह रहे थे कि ये crossing by terrorists and jihadis etc. We thought that we will now through our own PR we will destroy that myth which they had created in their own country, Pakistani army, and which we were very successful in doing that. But all of us had to work together. The media had to work with us. The foreign जो हमारी external affairs ministry है, they worked with us. All of us, we worked together, and every day we used to have a meeting in the Prime Minister's office with Prime Minister himself chairing that. Now, graphically, in the smallest way of explaining to you, this is what the border was, and that black line is again, as I said, line of AGPL, and this is what we did. This is what they started, and our posture was like this. And that is what made Pakistan Army get scared, and their leadership started running around, because it was now made clear to them that we will not end the war unless we have won the victory in that area. So Nawaz Sharif sent his men first to China, Then he went himself to China, and China refused to help him at that time. And then finally, at the behest of their own chief, I'm now quite clear about it because I know the facts, because Pervez Musharraf persuaded him to go to USA. And on 4th of July, he sought a meeting. And 4th of July happens to be Independence Day of USA. And then President Clinton there. He did not want to have the meeting, but then he was forced to hold that meeting. And on 4th of July, जब उनकी शाम को मीटिंग होनी थी USA के टाइमिंग के मुताबिक, that day on our timing, early morning on 4th of July, we captured Tiger Hill. And it became very clear to the whole world, because we announced it to the whole world, that this now is a question of just a few days more, and we will throw them out and they'll get killed in that area. So that was a message we sent on 4th of July when our units, they captured Tiger Hill. And that was a very effective way. When people asked me, I said, now it's a question of just a few days more and we will be able to throw them. And then, you know, he agreed to do whatever President Clinton wanted. And then after that, Clinton persuaded our chief. He rang up, our Prime Minister. He himself, Nawaz Sharif, rang up our Prime Minister seeking कि अभी हमको जाने दो और जो बाकी जगह पर हमारे जवान हैं उनको हम वापस ले आएंगे. अभी तक तो जिहादी बोल रहे थे, टेररिस्ट बोल रहे थे, अभी उन्होंने बोलना शुरू कर दिया कि जो हमारे जवान हैं उनको हम वापस ले आएंगे. So there were a few posts, I would say about 10% of that area. Then they agreed to withdraw. Now, मैंने आपको एरोज में तो दिखा दिया बड़ी जल्दी से कि ऐसा हमने किया था. Just to explain to you what it involved. It involved first, of course, additional troops going to Kargil. And as Mayank was saying, then they realized so many trains are going from all over India to the borders. You know, that is what happened at night. All the trains moved at night. Of course, the newspapers got to know about it. Formations deployed on the border, strike formations को मैंने तैयार कर दिया कि जाना है अंदर. 446 military special trains, they moved to the western border. A brigade we had in Andaman Nicobar Island, तो उसको हमने शिप के ऊपर कराची की तरफ अटैक करने के लिए घुमा दिया. वो गए नहीं आखिर में, वो बाद में उधर अपनी शक्ल दिखा के उस एरिया में वापस वो गोवा में आके रहे. But they were made clear, it was made clear to Pakistan that we are coming all around. 19,000 tons of ammunition was moved. Part of Eastern Naval Fleet moved to Arabian Sea, I have told you that. IAF prepared all its bases, and the number of strikes which were undertaken by our Indian Air Force, that is also indicated here, how many sorties that they took. So this is all was involved at the national level, while our troops were now fighting those Gutham Gutha ki ladai literally at Tololing and other places, at Tiger Hill. You know, it's always important for a leader to explain his intention in the clearest possible term. Every 6th day I would go to the border in that area, and चाहे वो 500 थे या 5000 थे, जहाँ पर जितने होते थे, so I used to address them. And this is what I told them everywhere. I said, Pakistan enemy has started the fight, but it is we who will fire the last shot. And the war will end on our terms. And that is... So a leader must make himself clear what he wants and what is in his mind. Only then the others will be able to follow it. And his intention must be very clear to everybody, part of his team. All armed services, we cooperated with each other and fought together. वो एक से एक जमा एक दो नहीं होते हैं, एक जमा एक 11 भी बन जाते हैं, and that is what we achieved. Whether it was within the army, and we have, you know, in the army you have infantry, armored corps, mechanized infantry, artillery, air defense, helicopters, all kinds of medical teams. We have the supply corps, all
work together to be able to support the boys who were fighting on those mountain tops.
If Indian choppers can fly freely today over the Tololing Ridge, carrying crucial supplies.
जब ये शुरू कर पीछे जाओ. Now again come to this and then press once more on the photograph. चलो आगे. पहले कर देना उसके साथ वो चलेगा. हाँ प्रेस करो इसके ऊपर. आता है. Different laptops, so maybe that. But carry on.
If Indian choppers can fly freely today over the Tololing Ridge, carrying crucial supplies to the men stationed on top, it's at least partly because of the bravery of Captain Vikram Batra. On the night of 19th June, Captain Batra led the final attack onto point 5140, the most hostile and challenging mountain peak on the Tololing Ridge. The recapturing of 5140 opened the way for the final assault on Tiger Hills. We met Captain Batra, or Sher Shah as he was called by his men, when he was just getting ready for his next mission.
We had already decided our success signal before advancing for the attack, and it was like Bravo Company's success signal, "Oi Aaya," and which was passed to our CEO Colonel Joshi on the radio set. And after the another bunker was captured, my company's success signal was "Ye dil mange more." The guys were so highly charged up that they're wanting that some more bunkers should have been there, and we would have got the more chaps.
See, I'm showing you some parts of the kind of leadership that we develop within the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force. Now that is the kind of leadership, junior leadership, always leading from the front. That is the kind of dedication, and that is the kind of commitment. And I thought this clip, although you could not see the picture, but you could hear Vikram Batra that time. Now that is the kind of commitment that he had. And this clip was taken soon after he had captured a peak called point 5140. So that is the... now I'm going to show you a couple of letters, which are again very interesting. This letter is written by an officer, Major Acharya. He writes to his father on 19th June 1999. And in that letter he writes, "Hope this letter finds you in the best of health and spirits. Thanks for your letter and card." The father had sent him a good wishes card. So he is talking about that. W, his brother, "Must be fine or else I would have come to know. We must understand that he would also be ready, getting ready for our next task. Our unit now has to live up to the higher expectations of the army regiment and the media, etc. You know what, even the chief sent a letter of congratulations to the unit. It was indeed an honor for our unit to have been given such a task." Now, on 15th of June, his unit, he was one of the company commanders, they had captured Tololing, the most important height which was dominating the road. So he is talking about when they had captured that height, Tololing. I had personally written a letter to the commanding officer, Colonel Ravindranath, congratulating him and his unit for doing the kind of work that they have done. So he's referring to that particular letter. Hard work and sound ethos does have its merit, don't you think? We now have to work harder to preserve the hopes and aspirations of our well-wishers. Please don't worry about casualties. It's a professional hazard which is beyond our control, so why worry? At least it's for a good cause. And then he quotes Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna briefs Arjun on the following lines, and it's written in Hindi, but what it means that when you are doing the righteous work, जो आप धर्म का, I'm not talking of religion, but I'm talking of the notion behind the dharma. if you are doing a good work, धर्म का काम कर रहे हो, तो अगर आप मर भी जाओगे तो भी आप स्वर्ग में जाओगे. So he is quoting that from Bhagavad Gita. Now that is what is going on in his mind when he is fighting the battle. Now that is the spirit of the boys they had during that period. No, we are not air maintained, but food is good. We have a doctor with us, good chap. No, he says, Prime Minister's Kargil visit was a good motivation. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji and I had accompanied him. We had gone to Kargil on 13th of June. So this letter is written on 19th of June. So he quotes कि उसकी जो visit थी उनकी अच्छी थी, and then he also says about the Prime Minister, he is a good chap, कि वो अच्छा आदमी है. Good motivation, good chap. I am quite a sight now with an unkempt beard and Vaseline cream all over my ugly face to counter the icy winds. Please tell mother that combat is an honor of a lifetime and I would not think of anything less. What better way to serve the nation? I am proud to be in the infantry battalion, 2nd Rajasthan Rifles. Take care of your health as well as of mother. Don't worry and lose sleep. Tell a story a day of the Mahabharata to Charu so that your grandchild imbibes good values. Jai Mata Ki Jai. His wife Charu was expecting their first child. And that child is now almost 25 years old. She comes sometimes mother, sometimes that girl, they come to grounds whenever we celebrate the anniversary. Unfortunately, this girl was born after we had lost her. There is another letter, and this boy is from your neighborhood, Lucknow, Manoj Pandey, from 11th year. Now I'm not going to read out the whole letter he wrote to his friend. This is his last letter that he wrote. And imagine a 22 or 23 years old boy writing from the war front, what he writes. He says, I don't know what will happen at the next moment, but I can assure you and all countrymen that certainly we will push back the intruders at whatever the cost. This is the kind of, that is why I am saying when you have this kind of a spirit, there is nothing impossible. There is nothing impossible. Everything is possible. And this is the spirit that we had amongst our youngsters, 22 years, 23 years old. And there's another letter which I want to, and this one now is from a Jawan. Now, we have an organization called Army Wives Welfare Association. And of course, you would be knowing it much more about it. Now, this is, we have all the wives of the army officers. They are together. They have an association, probably one of the biggest NGOs in India. And it is headed by the chief wife. It's a ex officio honor given to her to be the president of AWA. So they decided at the top level, president and her colleagues, that let's send sweets to our soldiers who are on the front line. So they sent sweet packets and छोटे-छोटे message अपनी तरफ से लिख के, which went to the forward areas. The Air Force took them to forward areas and then they were distributed to the soldiers who were on the front line. And when those letters, when those sweets reach, so this is the reaction of a Sipahi who is fighting on the front line. And what he says, this is my dear Awa, because उसको तो मालूम नहीं कि किसने भेजा है. तो वो आवा को भी पूरा शायद जानता नहीं था, पर कहीं पर आवा लिखा था तो उसने आवा, my dear आवा. आपके प्रिय साथियों, सैनिक भाइयों की तरफ से आपको नमस्कार. हम भारत माता की चुम्बी पर राजी खुशी से रहते हुए ईश्वर से आपके खुश रहने की कामनाएं करते हैं. हम यहाँ पर देश की रक्षा कर रहे हैं. हमें आपकी भेजी हुई आवा की मिठाई मिली। हमने और हमारे सैनिक भाइयों ने आवा की मिठाई खाई। मिठाई खाते हुए हमें काफ़ी जोश आता है कि आप इसी प्रकार मिठाई भेजते रहें तो हम लाहौर तो क्या इस्लामाबाद भी पहुंच जाएंगे। आप लोग निर्भय होकर रहो, हम आपकी व अपने देश की रक्षा करेंगे। जब तक हम लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल क्रॉस नहीं करते तब तक हम चैन की सांस नहीं ले पाएंगे। हम उनको ऐसी सीख सिखलाएंगे कि उनको सपने में भी याद आएगा कि इंडिया और इंडियन आर्मी क्या चीज़ है। भाइयों व बहनों, तुम खुश रहो। हमारी तरफ से तुमको तुम्हारी खुश रहने की कामनाएं हम करते हैं। आपको पत्र मिलता है तो पत्र में पूरा एड्रेस भेजना, और हमारे से अगर कोई गलती हो तो छोटा भाई समझ के उसको हमको माफ़ करना। आपका सैनिक सुनील। एंड यू नो हु सेंट अस दिस लेटर? वो डब्बे के ऊपर लिखा हुआ था बंगाली स्वीट हाउस, गोल्ड मार्केट, दिल्ली। So this fellow, he just noted that down and he wrote this letter. It went to Bengali Sweet House in Gold Market and उन्होंने हमको कि ये आपकी चिट्ठियाँ आई हुई हैं. But that was the spirit of the Jawans. So as I said, चाहे बाकी लोगों के आपके चेहरे नज़र भी नीचे आते हैं, and I can tell you my own experience. In Delhi, in South Block, generally for the first 20 days, 25 days, I used to see long faces. नेता थे या हमारे मेरे अपने कई कुलीग थे तो उनके चेहरे उतरे हुए होते थे, सर हो पाएगा कि नहीं होएगा, करेंगे या नहीं करेंगे. लेकिन मुझे फ्रंट लाइन के ऊपर किसी सोल्जर ने, किसी लीडर ने कभी भी नहीं बोला कि सर ये नहीं होगा या ये मुश्किल है. Every soldier I met on the front line, and I told you I went every 6th day, everyone, in fact, they raised my morale. They said, don't worry sir, we'll do it. That is how we won that war. Well, these are some of the photographs taken during the war period. You know, just to give you some figures, we lost, I have shown here 4 at 68 plus 5 of the Air Force. These were lost on account of bullets and shelling, etc. But then we lost a number of other soldiers because of high altitude effect, you know, pulmonary edema and things of this nature, and some died on account of empty accidents. So we included all those figures to be able to give them the awards and the compensation that will be given to people who died, you know, unke liye. So that, I think, figure came to about 527, after including all those people also. Now, Pakistan kept on saying कि हमको तो पता नहीं, हमारे तो आदमी नहीं है, and all that. Our initial assessment was that they lost 737 people. Even today, they have not given the whole figure. But their own prime ministers, both Nawaz Sharif as well as Benazir Bhutto, they count their soldiers who died in thousands. And some people ask me, look, how come you were climbing the mountains, आपने हमारे casualties से ज़्यादा कैसे उनकी हो सकती हैं? So I always tell them, we were told not to cross the line of control, but our artillery shelling was not told to do that. So we could fire a gun up to 35 kilometers inside Pakistani territory, and you know, those are the ones who called. Our boys used to go in helicopter to the height of about 19,000 feet, observe their targets on the other side of line of control, and direct the fire of the artillery onto their targets. That is how they lost more casualties. That is what happened. And our Beaufort guns, as you all know, has got उन दिनों में तो about, अभी तो ज़्यादा हो गई है, but उन दिनों में the range was about 35 kilometers or so. And as Mayank had said, initially they refused to take bodies of their own soldiers. You know, we offered them, And they said, nahi, 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 hum nahi. And these are the kind of lies which they were telling to their own people. And when their own people realized, because our media was not quite sort of strong, effective, speaking the truth. So then, after some time, they said, okay, can you return some bodies of ours? So जहाँ पर उन्होंने कुछ बोला, तो हमने उनको वो वापस कर दी with proper military honors as it is required. But and we had captured 8 prisoners of war, which we returned after some time. And those prisoners of war told us all the stories about what had happened and how they were pushed into this. These are some of the weapons, equipment, and this is what when we showed to our media, so then everybody, including our own intelligence agencies, after that they did not question me at that time. That look, we were fighting an army and we were not fighting the terrorists. Yeah, this is one place where this commanding officer rang up our brigade commander this side, can we take our dead bodies? And we said, okay, le jaane do unko. So they came and they took these dead bodies. I think there were about 7 or 8 dead bodies. Just a few quotes from their prime ministers. Benazir Bhutto, this is what she said. Pakistan, there is another Imtiaz Alam, one of their senior journalists. He said, Pakistan is seen as a rogue state that is also at war with itself. Benazir Bhutto said, Kargil was the biggest blunder committed in the history of Pakistan. The whole operation has cost Pakistan heavily. It has given the people of Pakistan a sense of humiliation and disgrace because they were forced to withdraw in the face of international isolation. It was not only the defeat by the military, but even internationally they were isolated. And this is what their own prime ministers, or ex-prime minister at that time, speaking about it. This is one of the photographs taken soon after the war, when the air chief, you can see me and some other commanders of that time, we were all there. And at the back you can see the Tiger Hill in the back. This photograph was taken soon after that. So we had that Vijay. At the end, 26th July, we declared that we have done what the government had asked us to do, and we have achieved our aim. And because of the courage, commitment, determination, soldiers and junior leaders, they were at their best indeed. That is Indian Army and India. The spirit was strong. Any organization you join, if you can maintain the high spirit of that organization, you will find that that organization will always succeed. Now, one last thing that I want to say before I finish off, and that just 4 points I want to make here. Firstly, today we are no longer in 99 situation. Today we are better developed, our country. We are economically and militarily much stronger. Today, our economy is 10 times stronger than the Pakistani army. Pakistan is in heavily debt, and economically they are probably one of the worst situations that they have seen in their history. Our economy is moving. So there is a lot of difference today which has come about, and I don't think they will dare to do something like this again. They can carry on with a few terrorists here and there, but they will not dare to do that. And if they try, you know what they will get. We have latest surveillance devices. We have better weapons and equipment. We have much better roads, tracks, infrastructure, which is required by the armed forces, which is required by the army. Earlier days, our netas never wanted us to cross the line of control. They had a check over us. Ye nahi karna, wo nahi karna. So, we were defensive. We were reactive all the time. And that is what happened initially in Kargil War also. But now, over the last, say, 10 years or so, our netas have also become proactive. which was a big change. And I know, I can say that if something happens and if the military on its own doesn't react, the military will be asked, आपने क्यों नहीं किया? आप क्यों नहीं की surgical strike क्यों नहीं की? And that is how we had that surgical strike in Uri. We had the Balakot strike by our Air Force. So there is a change in the mindset of the whole nation, including our own leadership. And lastly, I will always say, our human resource is the best in the world. The kind of human capital that we have in the Indian Army, and a lot of you in the NCC, I can make out, you will be joining the armed forces. You can be rest assured that our human capital is the best in the world.